Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm not outside Old Trafford. I'm not in the studio. I'm in the kitchen, but we are live with all the latest Manchester United news. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. I usually do on a Sunday. We usually do a little pre-record. So we'll record it and post it. And I thought, you know what? Let's just have a chat. Let's do a little bit of a live, go over all the latest news. And it doesn't matter if there's only, however many of us there is. Let's just have a little bit of a conversation about what's going down in Manchester United. So do get involved. Let me know what your thoughts are, because most of the stories nowadays are focusing around the manager. And it does seem as though, for the time being at least, Eric Dier's job is safe. So we'll get into that and we'll talk about what is going on in terms of how safe he is and who could be coming in after him if indeed he has been given this... Giving a little bit of a stay of reprieve. Loads of people already in the chat, so let's get into it. Let's say hello to a few people there. Yeah, I scheduled it. I think I scheduled it for like 11:15 at night at one point, so forgive me there. Akash K, Stayel, Mika, all good to see you guys in the chat. Min Shortlund, I hope I'm pronouncing that one right. Mick Hullahan, Amar Vij in the chat as well. Malcolm Campbell, Adam Hasler says town stinks today. Morning, Jay. Sorry to hear that. Akash Case says nothing like a bacon sandwich and a paddock live in the morning. Manchester Maverick says it's fecking cold in Manchester this morning. Oh God, that's all about here. I'm going to go for a run in a minute. Sam Z or Zam Z. Aussie Singh Sunna says not say morning, mate. Don't know you. Oh, fair enough. Right, okay. Don't say morning. You don't know me. Let's be friends. Come on, don't be like that. Someone is in Dubai. Christian Oaks Golf. Morning from Dubai. It's all right for some. Billy says, Jay, the manager doesn't tell Delo not to track his man. Sick of the blame. All the blame on him. Bruno losing his head is because the rest of the players not doing their job. So let's get into that as well. Let's talk a little bit about that. Christian Oaks Golf says missing me bacon butties. Sean McCarthy says it's night time in New Zealand. Harry Potter, Harry with no H. She said it like a proper man. Like Harry Potter says afternoon from Amsterdam. Man says morning from Iran. And Jojo Brino says morning. Good morning from Ghana. So we've got a full plethora of people from around the world watching this morning. Let me know what you think about the latest stories. Should we get into that? Should we talk a little bit about what's going on? Because, like I said earlier, it looks like Eric Dier's job is safe for now. Don't want to get too carried away. Don't want to say that's it. INEOS aren't ever going to get rid of him. It may well be after the Brentford game. If he doesn't win that, they have another look at it. But for now, it doesn't look like he's going to get sacked during this international break. It'd be a massive surprise if he did. INEOS obviously had this meeting earlier on in the week. I think it was Tuesday. It wasn't about the manager. It wasn't meant to be about the manager. It was a pre-planned meeting. But obviously, they're going to talk about the manager, regardless of whether the manager's doing well or doing badly. But they're certainly going to talk about a manager who's just had some of the results that Eric Dier has had. But it does seem as though, from what we gather, Eric Dier's job is safe. There haven't been many leaks. INEOS do play their cards close to their chest, but it seems like he's safe for now. The sort of twist in this is United are still looking at other managers. And it seems like there is a whole host of managers that are being lined up or are being viewed as potential successors to Eric Dier. Now, one of those who's always been sort of high up the list is Thomas Tuchel. We know the club spoke to Thomas Tuchel last summer, didn't obviously hire him. There's varying reports. It seems like it might have been as much a Thomas Tuchel decision as it was an INEOS decision not to move forward with him as manager. Apparently, and again, it depends who you read. I've read a few different articles with different opinions. He wasn't too keen on the sort of transfer setup. He wanted a bit more say on transfers. I don't know how true that is. I don't know whether that is the final sort of the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of negotiations, or whether INEOS were a bit underwhelmed when they met with him and what he had to say, or a bit skeptical. I don't know. If I had to guess, it does feel like Tuchel wasn't that keen himself, rather than it just being about the club not wanting him. However, he has still been linked with a job. But there's a twist. He's also been linked with the England job. Now, we tweeted this. I think Miguel Delaney mentioned it in an article. He said, it's thought that recent reports of talks between Thomas Tuchel and England, so they have had a conversation, are an attempt to put pressure on Manchester United, who have an interest if they do part ways with Eric Dier. This is an interesting one, because, again, you can say this with a little bit of a pinch of salt. What am I on about? It's too early in the morning for me. But it wouldn't be the first manager who's done something like that. He said, okay, well, you don't want me. Right, I'm going to go here. And then all of a sudden people think, well, we better get him before we lose our opportunity. Would he take over England? Would England have a German manager? Should it matter? Is that just a little bit sort of old school thinking? We can't have a German manager in England. Why not? We had a Swede managing England, didn't we? So we had a Dutch person managing England, and Steve McLaren. So why can't we have a German in Thomas Tuchel? I don't think it matters what nationality you are, to be honest with you. I think we get sort of too sort of distracted with those kind of things. I mean, the women's team had have had a very successful spell under a foreign manager. So why should it matter for the men's team? That's my opinion. You may disagree. Also, it helps the fact that I'm not that bothered about England. I just want the United players to do well. And that's not just me being top red. That's just how I view England. I'm actually relieved. I was relieved when they lost against Greece, England, that there was no Manchester United players involved. It's nice to not have that feeling, that impending sense of doom that the Manchester United players are going to be blamed for whatever goes wrong with England. So let me know what you think about this. Do you see this as an actual manoeuvre by Thomas Tuchel or his people to say, okay, let's have a chat with England? Do you think there is genuine interest from England? They go, look at him. He's a coach who's won trophies. He's won, obviously, He won the German Cup with Dortmund, won the title with PSG and got to a Champions League final, won the Champions League with Chelsea, let's not forget, won a title with Bayern before it all went south and he got sacked. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the comments and the chat. Do you think Thomas Tuchel is the answer? Do you think Eric Dier will actually, he's going to keep his job for now? Do you think he can turn things around and keep it longer term? Because there is this sort of feeling that he's still not going to make it. He's still not going to have a happy ending here at Manchester United. And it's going to be one of those where at Christmas we're looking at maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy as caretaker. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see how it's turn things around. But I'll be honest with you, I have lost a little bit of faith. I have. I've always been very, very vocal about my support and belief in Eric Dier. But the Spurs game rattled me a bit. And I know that red card was never a red card. And there's a good chance, had it stayed to 11 men, Manchester United would have got back in the game because Spurs invariably crumble in football matches. We've seen them do it time and time again, including this season under Postecoglou. But yeah, it did bother me, that one. It was a little bit difficult to take. And then you want to throw in the sort of the underwhelming results in Europe too, because drawing with FC20 when you're ahead and drawing with Porto when you were 2-0 up. Okay, I know we got a late equaliser when we're down 10 men, but it's not great, is it? We just need a little bit of a lift here. I don't know if that's, the new manager gives you that, but we need something to start going right for Manchester United, because at the minute, this season has just been absolutely not disastrous. It's not been that bad, but it's been a bit rubbish. Colin Coupleditch says, 100% agree. I don't care for England. Just hope the United players do well and don't get injured. I agree. Luke says, I like Eric, but might be the time to go. Then I look at the options and see barely anyone better than Eric. That is a good point. There's not loads where you go. There isn't, do you remember with Louis van Gaal where there was Jose Mourinho was there? And it was like, it wasn't even a case of you just hated Louis van Gaal or you just didn't believe in Louis van Gaal. Because let's not forget, we won the FA Cup that season. It was also, we had that bad run of results in the league. I think we lost 3 out of 3, didn't we? We lost to Bournemouth and Stoke and Norwich or whatever it was. And Jose had been sacked around the same time at Chelsea. And you looked at it and you went, okay, he's won 2 Champions Leagues. He's won 3 Premier League titles. There's always been this sense that one day Jose Mourinho would manage Manchester United. It feels like his destiny almost. Go out and get him. There isn't one of those managers right now. Tuchel's a good manager. Thomas Frank's a good manager. Are they the right manager for Manchester United? Are they an improvement on Eric Ten Hag? You may think they are. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Sami Kazi says, not been that bad. We are 14th. Subham Sahar says it's been a SHITE show. Akash K says he won the league. Oh, sorry. Marcus says Akash K. Oh, sorry. Marcus is talking to Akash K. Says he won the league with PSG and Bayern. And talking about Thomas Tuchel. Akash K says, Jay, have you seen Bruno comments? He clearly is allowed to express himself for Portugal as opposed to Manchester United right now. Bruno had a decent game again last night. I think he was getting a bit of stick for some of his finishing, but I think he got an assist last night for Portugal, didn't he? So I didn't see the full game. It was a bit of a mixed bag, but again, he's quite prolific in terms of goals and assists for his country. Has struggled in that department for his club, and he's also he's sort of mentioned the fact about enjoying it, playing a little bit more or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, but something about enjoying playing for Portugal a little bit more, perhaps. It's just not great for Bruno at the minute. I do believe in the kid. I just think he needs a bit of a breather. He's played a lot of football. He's continuing to play a lot of football for both club and country, not just in terms of games, but in terms of minutes as well. He's never injured. Manchester United tend to get to the last stages of cup competitions. Yeah, we've done it we've done it for like the last 4 or 5 years, People look at this as just an Eric Ten Hag thing. But look at under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. How many finals we got to one final, but how many semi-finals did we get to under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? We got to a few, didn't we? There was an FA Cup, a couple of League Cup finals. There was 2 Europa League semi-finals, and then obviously Europa final. So we do tend to play a lot of football matches under Eric Ten Hag. We've got to 3 finals, as he likes to always remind us. Plus, we got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, having played that extra couple of games against Barcelona 2 seasons ago. Bruno Fernandes obviously plays in the tournaments for his country, plays a lot of minutes in those tournaments for his country. So he is a player that always plays. He plays probably more minutes than almost any outfield player in Europe. So maybe that's just a little bit of fatigue. Goosey says, Ten Hag wasn't that bad. Won as the Carabao, but gave us 7-0 and 5-0 against Liverpool by Hag. I'm trying to think. The 5-0 against Liverpool. Have I erased that from my memory under Eric Ten Hag? I remember the 7-0, obviously. I remember the 5-0 under Ole. I don't know. Is that a mistake? Am I just absolutely losing the plot? I mean, we've lost far too many games against Liverpool emphatically as well over recent years. It's been horrible. Dan United 94 says the 5-0 was Ole won it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, unless there's another one that I've completely erased from my memory, which, you wouldn't blame me if I did. So Tuchel could be going to England. Okay, we'll see what happens. Or is that just a ploy to get Manchester United to try and come in with a concrete offer for him? United, though, have been linked with other managers as well, including Edin Terzić. Now, this is the kid or the bloke who was in charge of Borussia Dortmund. He's been in charge of Dortmund twice. I think he was the manager there a few years ago, and then he moved upstairs, didn't he? He was the manager there, and then he won the German Cup, and then I think he was succeeded as it was Marco Rose took over, and I think he became technical director, I think, and then he took over again. I think it was sort of beginning of last season, was it? Or the season before? And then last season, he took them to the Champions League final. I think they finished about 5th in the Bundesliga last season. It wasn't great in the Bundesliga for Dortmund, but they got to a Champions League final. Can't ignore that. A great achievement. Obviously, Jadon Sancho played his part there. Had a very good game in that semi-final first leg against Paris Saint-Germain, where he was player of the match. So it looks like Edin Terzić is someone who's being linked. It's in the Manchester Evening News. I think they've got it as well from The Sun. Hashtag don't buy The Sun. Loads of managers. There's a list of managers. I mean, Ruben Amorim, who's obviously highly rated for what he's doing in Portugal. Kieran McKenna, Graham Potter, Gareth Southgate, Simone Inzaghi. We've mentioned Inzaghi a few times on the channel. I mentioned him on the Paddock Live the other night. Do I see any of those managers coming to Manchester United? Possibly. Maybe. I don't know, really. None of them are definite, are they? None of them you've got to go out and get him. He's the guy. He's the answer. Let me know what you think. Who do you want? Who's the manager? Dan United 94 says, who would you prefer, Jay? Out of everyone we've been linked with, if we are to replace Eric Ten Hag, I'd be tempted with Tuchel. I would. I really would. I think that because he's managing the Premier League, because he has won a Champions League, I don't think you can ignore that. Getting to 2 Champions League finals and winning one of them as well. That's a good record, that. And he's, people go, oh, well, won the Champions League. Won the Champions League as well with Chelsea. I know they've won it once before under Roberto Di Matteo, but it's not like they're the team that always wins the Champions League. It's not like someone Real Madrid, where you go, well, everyone wins the Champions League with Chelsea. Well, they don't, and he did. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought Pep Guardiola gave him a massive helping hand by not playing Rodri in that final, but don't take anything away from Thomas Tuchel. He did very well. He won that competition, a competition that Manchester United have only won 3 times. Let's not forget the European Cup or the Champions League. So you can't ignore that. He does have experience in England, which can help. I think he'll get it in terms of the size of the club because he's managed at Bayern Munich, which is on a similar-ish footing to Manchester United, the size and the expectation that comes with it. My only concern with Thomas Tuchel, my main concern, is it does feel short-term. He doesn't tend to stick around. And also, is he a manager that's not quite at the top of his game? The Bayern Munich spell wasn't brilliant, was it? He won a title, I think, was it goal difference, first season? Okay, you've won the title. Have you won a title? Yes. Fine. But then you had underwhelming performances in the Champions League, absolutely battered off City, and then the following season, finished third. I think not good enough. So, yeah, I don't know. Billy says, Jay, did you see the interview with Benny McCarthy this week? It makes me think it's more players than him. If not, give it a read. I said I need to watch it again. I saw it or read it or watch it, whatever. I did see some of the quotes from Benny McCarthy. Should we just get into that, actually? Because why not? We're having a little chat. Let's have a look at what Benny McCarthy was saying. Benny McCarthy was weird because he got a lot of credit when Marcus Rashford was firing in all the goals. Everyone was like, that's Benny McCarthy. That's McCarthy. And then when Marcus Rashford stopped scoring, it was Marcus Rashford's fault. There's been a lot of changes at Manchester United. And Benny McCarthy's come out in support of Eric Ten Hag. Says only Pep Guardiola would be worth changing the manager for. Says who else is better than Ten Hag? You're not going to get many managers unless Pep decides to change from Manchester City to United. Then maybe you might have a change in fortunes. But other than that, I can't see who's better than Ten Hag. Now, I like that. I like to see a bit of loyalty in football. I don't think there's enough of it. So Benny McCarthy obviously being very loyal to his ex-boss. It's been a massive overhaul, hasn't it? With McCarthy going, with McLaren going, with Mitchell van der Gaard going, obviously Ruud coming in, Rennie Hacker, one or two others as well. I mean, is that a help or a hindrance for the manager himself? Especially psychologically, you're losing your entire backroom staff and getting an entire new one. Plus, you've got new bosses. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder whether that's sort of just making Eric Ten Hag slightly unhappy, shall we say, when he's lost the people that he's been working with quite closely. Let me know what you think. Glenn F says, give us a shout out, Jay. It's my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday to Glenn F's daughter. I hope she's having a good one, brother. And at least Manchester United can't spoil it today. Itai L says, remember when we first got Eric Ten Hag and we all said we're at least 5 years away, 2.5 years in, and want him gone. Feels like the cycle continues. It does, doesn't it? Maybe INEOS have got the right idea sticking with him, but maybe they need to stick with him. Let me know what you think. Do you think they need to ride this out? Does anyone think that? Or do you think we need to just wait and see? Because the issue you've got right now is, yes, they've backed him, but I honestly believe if we lose to Brentford, it's going to be, we're reviewing it again. It could go. And I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. It's just where we are, aren't we, at the minute? It's just not a great place to be in. And I think there's too many issues at United. Manish Bandari says, Jay, do you think if our strikers don't start firing double digits this season in Premier League, should we sign an experienced striker? Rasmus, I've lost your comment. Rasmus is on his second season now. We have missed so many goals. Yeah, I do worry. I do think we might have to look at that in January if we're not scoring goals. Say, do we need to go out? Can we go out money-wise? Are our hands tied with the old PSR? Because there's a chance that Marcus Rashford, I think he's on, was it 4 goals this season, could get to 20 goals this season. There's a chance that Rasmus Højlund could get to 20 goals this season because he got to, 16 last season? There's every chance them two players could give you 40 goals between them. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. And then you could have like Garnacho, Bruno, maybe Diallo, weigh in with like 30 between them all. Xerxes as well. So there could be goals there. It could be in a scenario where you've got, goals coming from everywhere. No one's mad prolific. No one's getting you 30 goals, but people are weighing in with goals and they're sort of spread out throughout the team. I think that could happen. I just think what could also happen is your top goal scorer could have 11 goals or something. Like, we need someone to be a little bit more clinical because we are creating chances. We've not been mad sort of busy in that respect. But I think we are sort of XG. The conversion to our XG is one of the lowest in the league. I think we miss more chances compared to how many we create than almost any club in the Premier League. It's not good enough. Gary McKeown, 1979, says, I'm a Liverpool fan, Jay, and honestly feel... what's that? If Eric's stubbornness breaks and plays more to his players' strengths, you will move forward, mate. There you go. Hands across the Mersey there. Gary McKeown. I was expecting a sarky comment there, but I think that was actually pretty reasonable. Just sorry, cast aspersions on you, just because I thought you might be trolling. Jez Dead Baby says, the problem is psychological. Too many players are scarred by failure and prone to collapse. We should have been looking to sell as many people over the age of 25 as possible. Guti says, I can't feel the joy of football when watching United play. They're always disorganised with no passion. Marcus says, we can't keep the ball well enough. All good points. All very good points. Ginge678 says, morning, Jay. Are you bored due to no United games like myself? Reason for going live, lol. Not boredom. I just thought, let's have a chat. Rather than me just sitting in here going, Stephanie Griffiths in the chat says pick up Jay as well. I'm just sitting here going, you know what? Here's what the story was and just posting it. Let's have a little bit of a conversation. It's been a decent chat so far. And I think, you know what? We're in that weird situation at the minute with Manchester United where I don't even feel like there's a wrong answer. I don't like when people say something like, we need to convert more chances. We need an experienced striker. Eric Ten Hag needs to stop being stubborn. I think they're all valid. All of those points. Or if someone says, I think we need to bring in someone else, I think we need to go for Thomas Tuchel, I can see the value in that opinion. I don't think it's an outrageous one because you can look and you can see Manchester United at the minute, it isn't working. So something has to change. So I get it. And I think it's sort of healthy to have these discussions. Gary McKeel, 1979 says, no, mate, I actually like your show a lot. Of honesty, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate that. Akash K says, I agree with Ronaldo Brown. There are no signs to suggest tonight is the right person for Manchester United right now. Dan United 94 says, Jay, who was the first Brazilian player to play for United? Was it Kleberson? Am I getting that completely wrong? Was the one... No, it's got to be one before Kleberson, hasn't there? I can't think. I can't think who the first Brazilian was to play for United. I think Kleberson was early doors. What was that, 2002? So it does feel like that. Dan United 94 says, correct. Ross McPherson says, favourite character from The Wire, Jay? Come on, it's got to be Omar on it. Forgive me, I know that's not the most original opinion, but it's an honest one, and we're all about honest opinions. Yeah, everyone's saying Kleberson. I think Kleberson was the answer to that question. I was trying to overthink it. I was thinking, like, was there one in the 80s? Was there someone when I was a kid, a Brazilian playing for Manchester? There wasn't many Brazilians in the Football League as it was then, to be honest with you. I think Newcastle had one of the first ones. A kid called it Mirandinha, who came. But a lot of Brazilians didn't like coming over to England to play football regularly because it was cold and freezing and rough as well back in the day as well. You were getting booted all over the gaff, playing on, cabbage patches, and it was freezing and raining as well. So it's not exactly the most appealing climate for a lot of Brazilians. Remember, we were linked with, I know this is skipping forward a little bit, was it Lucas Moura who we were linked with? It looked like we were going to get him around 2012, was it maybe? I don't know. Apparently he's put off when he came. I think he came here with Brazil for the Olympics or something. There's rumours that he was put off, that he didn't fancy it. Get Terzić in, says the senior. Yep. Jez Dead Baby says, people don't understand just how intense the pressure is at United. I'd argue that it's even bigger than at Real Madrid. I think that the pressure at United is mammoth. I think you have to admit that. It is a thing. Even when United aren't winning trophies or aren't challenging for titles, there's still an expectation there. There's still a pressure there. And also, that has been sort of forever. When I was a kid, the pressure was on Ron Atkinson, and he got sacked, didn't he? When, he'd won 2 trophies in 5 years, whatever, and then he got sacked because the club was struggling near the bottom of the league. We went through a lot of managers between Busby and Fergie because they didn't do what they needed to do. Post-Sir Alex Ferguson been through a lot of managers as well. So as a club, I always say this, as a club, Manchester United, there's always a lot of pressure, there's always a lot of expectation. And we are a club that sacks managers and gets rid of managers. We're just a club that happens to have 2 of the greatest managers of all time have both managed at our football club. 2 revolutionary managers in Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson, who stuck around for decades and built something. But in between those and after those, you've got managers who've come and gone and failed, ultimately. They've failed to deliver what Manchester United expects. We are the biggest club in England. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we should be challenging for titles regularly. And if we're not challenging for titles regularly, then the manager's not doing his job. That's what Eric Ten Hag's got to get us to. He's got to get us challenging for titles. Are we going to get there this season? No. Are we going to get there with Eric Ten Hag? I'm doubtful. I'll be brutally honest. I hope I'm wrong. So it's a problem that INEOS have got to fix, and it's a problem that's going to take some time because you saw Paul Scholes was chatting about it the other day, and he said, look at the squad. Still a long way off. The thing that gives me hope with this Manchester United squad and team at the minute is the youthfulness. We've got some very, very good young players. You've got Kobbie Mainoo, you've got Alejandro Garnacho, obviously, both in the first team. Then even below them, you've got likes of Harry Amas, you've got the young kid you got from Arsenal. So long term, the future's quite bright. Plus, you've got other younger players. Joshua Zirkzee's still quite young. Rasmus Højlund's still quite young. Lenny Yoro is obviously young. So there's every chance to think that this team in a few years could shine. But it could be a bumpy few years. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Make sure, if you're not doing, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Moyer. This has been The Paper Talk live from a pretty mild, sunny Salford. Thanks for watching.